early years at primer conferences, and sadly, or at least realistically, continuing till this day, we hear a lot of references to the fact that investigators resent IACUCs, and some of them consider it so much red tape or so many hurdles erected to delay or, in fact, obstruct the research. Tell me about your experience with investigators, investigator education, and whether those attitudes have changed over time.
Probably the biggest hurdle was with the investigators who had been in research for many, many years prior to the mid-'80s, where they were virtually allowed to do their work without any kind of scrutiny. They were trusted, they were respected, they turned out good science, they discovered things. I mean, obviously research was successful, but they had no one looking over their shoulder. And yes, they found this to be an intrusion. And probably the biggest complaint we heard, and I'm sure we hear it today too, although much less so, is that, scientists are creative. They're thinking all the time. And they may go to bed at night and say, you know what, I'm going to try this tomorrow. And all of a sudden, they're not allowed to go forward without having the scrutiny of a group of people to make sure everything's appropriate. And they had to wait. So they were feeling like they were being stalled. And that was very frustrating. And with respect to the amount of additional work put on investigators, I think initially, yes, it was a shock to them, but even more so over time, we're finding the administrative regulatory burden to be excessive and not well embraced. And I think what has happened here is prior to the 80s, we had the pendulum here where there was little oversight, and we probably didn't understand truly the benefits of animal welfare on good science. And as we learned and we started to interpret the regulations and laws, we pulled the pendulum this way. And so we're doing things that we really need to step back and say, is this truly of value to both science and animals? And that's what this is all about. And if it's not, do we really have to do that? We need to swing it somewhere here.